Okay, so hi guys. Today we are going to start this business logic project inside our travel approval app. And the last time we had discussed about validation. So today we are going to understand what is a roll-up summary field, how to create a roll-up summary field, and why do we need to create it. Okay, the last point is very important. Why? Okay. Now I'm going to share some notes which I have prepared. Okay, so that we can save some time during the session. Um, this is the theory about it. Roll-up summary field, just like any other field, we go to our object and we click on new fields button, and there we select. We get a number of data types to create our field upon, and one of the data type is roll-up summary field. Okay, so roll-up summary field, we create it. It is a read-only field. We cannot edit it. It is a system calculated fields. Okay, I will tell you why. Now the roll-up summary field can be created only on parent object in master detail relationship. Yeah, so if you recall our master detail and lookup session where we had very exhaustive discussion about it, one of the point was where I had highlighted that we'll learn about it later on, and one of the difference was roll-up summary field. So on master detail, in master detail relationship, on a parent object we can create roll-up summary field. Now, like the name suggests, right? Roll-up summary, it means it rolls up something from bottom of the chain onto the top of the hierarchy. So it looks onto the child records. Okay, it executes either the count of related child records, the minimum amount on the related child record, the maximum amount or the maximum figure or number on the related across the related child records on a parent object, or the sum of all the numbers across a field on the related child records, and it shows up the results on the parent record. So it does three actions. Either it can count, and these actions are performed on the related child records. Okay, so this roll-up summary field executes count on the related child records, the minimum value of something on related child record, the maximum value of a field across the related child records, the sum of the values across the related child records, and all the result count, mean, max, or sum is stored or saved or displayed on the related parent record. Okay, and this happens only in master detail, not in lookup. Okay, so the roll-up summary field is a standard field which we can create. Now we'll see about that, how to create and why we create. Now it is a read-only field that displays the sum, minimum, or maximum, or the count of a value in a related list. Related list means the child across the child records, or the record count of all the records listed in a related list. We'll see the demo or practical on this one as well to have some visual understanding about it. So it aggregates and show the final result on the parent record, like I said. So use case, let us understand the use case. So we have already built our travel approval data model, right? If you recall. So Roshan, what is our data model in our travel approval? If you
I think the objects
yeah
we have created.
So you tell me about, when I say data model, you have to talk about all the objects which are involved in this particular app. So start from the top of the hierarchy and go to the bottom of the hierarchy. So which one starts first in this application? Which object?
Something, I think, department. There was a department and travel approval.
Yeah, and then?
I can't remember actually, all and expense item.
Yes.
All of that I remember.
Yes. Yeah. So don't keep notice of this thing, because we are not just understanding what is app, what is object, what is this, but at the end of this trail, right, you should be able to understand, the important areas uh, when you have to build an application. This is very simple application, but during the journey of building this simple travel approval application, we try to understand the standard out of the box features. When I say out of the box, it means the point and click configurations around building an application on Salesforce platform. So in the first project, we build data model, right? The different objects. It starts with that department. A department can have multiple travel approval object or records, and a given travel approval can have multiple expense items. So these are the data model involving 3 objects. Later, then we talked about or went through the different layout, like setting up the list view, the page layout, the lightning record page, the related list, the detail page. We kind of understood that one. And now we are trying to understand what business logic we can add. And at the end, we will try to create a reports and dashboard. So this is a complete, very basic end-to-end configurations around building an application. And any application in real life you build, you have to go through the all these configurations. So if you know this very first application which we are building, you would be very much in confident state about discussing the platform features, either in interview, in your company, to some other Salesforce developer or an admin. Okay, so don't lose sight of what you have already done. Okay, everything which we are doing is connected. So don't take the things in silos. Like, okay, we understood validation rule, but we don't know why we added validation rule. Remember, we added validation rule to, uh, uh, so travel approval before validation rule. When we create travel approval, the trip end date can be, before the trip start date, but that is not valid, right? The trip should only end, uh, you know, on the same day of the trip start date, or maybe at the later date of the trip start date. So that kind of validations we created, and it's not like something which is not connected. This is a part of our application which we are building. Now, similar to that, we are going to create this roll-up summary filter. And again, this is part of our travel approval app. So whatever we have done, keep all of them into, into your mind. And if you think that we have done very little from uh, Trail's point of view, or why it came up, or the number of projects or the models we have completed very less, forget it. We are discussing a lot more than that. So don't go by we have just completed 1 module, 2 module. No, we are discussing a lot more important concepts, and how to have the right thinking process about building an application, how to have a holistic view when we build an application, what all what all areas or sections are there when you build an application, the data model, the page layout, adding business logic around those applications, and finally creating reports and dashboard for our business analyst, or for the business stakeholders, people, to get insight of the application which we have built upon. Okay, so this is itself an end-to-end application which we are building. Okay, so if you have forgotten or could not recall it clearly, I would encourage you not to keep on completing other modules. Okay, focus on this thing. If you are able to think, from an application point of view, what all areas are involved, you should be, happy with just completing one application than completing multiple application and you have no idea why you are doing this thing. Okay, so I would recommend and suggest you not to uh, go after the numbers, but to go after the quality, or the concept which you have to understand. So if you have forgotten, I'm again telling you, recap the whole concept, build it again in a separate developer edition or separate Trailhead playground, and try to do it again and again until you get it right. You can ask me questions any number of times, okay, if you have to, but yeah, you get this thing right just once in your lifetime and you will get it always right. Otherwise, if you go after the numbers, uh, you will have to repeat the same thing again and again, and it will be forever. Okay, so Now coming back to our rollup summary field, we saw the theory. Now let's try to understand why we are going to create a rollup summary field. So we'll focus on this one. So next thing, we create a field on the travel approval object, okay, that automatically sums up the total amount of expense from the related expense item. Okay, so you have a travel approval request. You have created a travel approval request in the application, in the system. Now consider yourself as an end user, okay, as an employee who is using this app. They go to the travel approval app on Salesforce, and now they create a travel approval request linking with their department. And now whatever expenses that they have made during the trip, they will go and create expense item for each expenses, right? So I'm going to the org. Who is iPhone? Uh, let me see it. Maybe Sophia. Hi, Sophia. Is this you?
No, Sudhir, it's me.
Okay. Okay.
I have joined through my phone. I don't know what happened in laptop.
Okay.
It
No problem.
automatically got disconnected.
Oh yeah. So are you I mean, Roshan and Abbas, are you getting the similar issues?
No, no, not at all. I'm here.
I think, yeah, you will be. You can get, because this is a free version of Zoom. So what it does, sometimes it kicks out the attendees from the meeting, and this is what happened with Jyoti. I have faced the similar
Yeah, it
situation.
automatically got
Yeah,
stuck.
and it
And
restarts again, right?
no, it didn't restart it. It was
Mhm.
like rolling. So I
Okay.
thought,
Yeah, that's good.
why not join with phone?
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Okay. So where is it now? If you see, I as an admin, let's say I'm an employee, right? And I came to this app and I created a new request. I'm creating a new request for myself. Okay. See, uh, it has a 40-minute limit. I think we have crossed that one, but yeah, thanks to Zoom. Just love it. Uh, Empowerforce trip. This is the new request. Trip start dates. It starts today. And if I, so logically, Jyoti, the trip end date should be on the same day or maybe after the start date, right? So if I try to, earlier we used to save it, the trip end date may be before the start date, which is not a valid data, right? So if I try to save it, we are getting a validation
Yeah.
error. Trip end date must be greater than or equals to start date. So this is what we
Correct.
did in the last session. Okay, so once you go through the recording, you will come to know.
Mm-hmm.
And additionally, you can comment on the Slack Q&A channel to talk about it. Okay, if you have any queries. But this is validation rule which we have added. So if I try to add it on or after today's date or trip start date, I should be able to create one. So destination state, let's say any, and my department is, let's say, IT, and save it. So I, as an employee, came to this app file. I linked my thing here. Now, let me talk about the rollup summary field. I have already created the rollup summary field. Like I said, you have your travel approval and your expense item. Try to recollect the schema builder, the relationship between the department. I would try to bring that one here as well. Let me see if the recording is still on. Yeah, it's still on. So this is our so if you see this, it starts with from on the top of the hierarchy, the department. Then department has can have multiple travel approval request, and a given travel approval request by an employee can have multiple expense item. This is what we are doing. So every child record appears on the related list side of the parent object. So we are on the travel approval. This is our parent, and the child is expense item. So we'll go and try to add our expense item. But before this, let us try to understand the use case. Okay, so our use case is I have already created that field. So I will again go and talk about it. But just to give you an idea, if I create, let's say, multiple expense item, right? So how do, let's say, someone, your manager, if your manager has to approve, right? The manager has to know how much is the total expense. Okay, so our expense amount is, captured. We are capturing it inside expense item record, right? So how do we do it? We click on new expense item, and then we give the amount, right? So if the manager has to have a quick view on the total expense item, uh, if we don't create roll-up summary field, then the manager has to go individually into each expense item and manually search the amount, right? But if we create a roll-up summary field, let's say the name is total expense, the roll-up summary field may sum up all the expense amount and show it on the top of the parent record. In this case, our parent record is this travel approval request. Now, if I go to my object, travel approval, so we want to roll up all our expense item onto travel approval, right? So from our use case is to sum up the total amount of expenses on the related expense item and show it on the travel approval record. This is our actual business use case. So as an admin, your first job is to identify the objects which are involved. So first step is I identify the objects. Okay, identify the objects. What are your objects? Travel approval and expense item, right? Now, next step is identify parent child. Why do we need to identify parent child? Because we have to sum up the total amount expenses, right, across the expense item. So we know that our travel approval is the parent. Looking at the schema builder, this is our parent and this is our child object. Okay, I'm following very layman's approach here just to explain you. Now, next step is identify the relationship type between the objects. Okay, so what is the relationship type? It is master detail. Okay, now since it is master detail, okay, where travel approval is the parent and expense item is the child. Now, by theory, I can say that, okay, I can use roll-up summary field to sum up all the expense amount on my child records and show the total amount on the related parent record. Yeah, that makes sense? Clear theoretically?
Yes.
So hey, can you repeat that again, please?
Okay. So our use case is to sum up the total amount of expenses from expense item and so on the travel approval request record, travel approval record. Okay. This is our use case.
Mhm.
So wherever you find, this is the common, let's say thumb rule. So wherever the use case says that you have to show the count of the child records or the related records onto parent record, or you have to do some minimum across the record and show the minimum value on the on top of the parent record, or some or min or max kind of operations. If you have do it, the first impression that should come into your mind is that, okay, this may be something around a roll-up summary field. Like you have to create some roll-up summary. Okay. Now, how do you identify roll-up summary field is the solution around it. So you try to identify what are the objects involved in your use case. So here the objects involved is the expense item and the travel approval record. So there are two objects, expense item and the travel approval. Now, where do you store your expense amount? We store it whenever we create an expense item record, right? And where we create expense item, we create expense item on the travel approval record, right? Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
So you go to travel approval, and where you create
So
expense
travel
item.
approval.
Mhm.
Yeah, travel approval is that's the parent.
Yes.
That's the parent object.
Yes.
And the roll-up summary would be on the child object, isn't it?
Yeah. So travel approval is your parent object. Fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Roll-up summary field is created on the parent object. Okay.
Okay.
But the roll-up summary field looks after the related child records.
Okay.
Okay. And it operates these functions, any one of them, the way you configure. We'll say about that.
So does that mean your roll-up summary should always be on the parent object?
Yes, always. No questions. Okay. Like I said, can be created only on the parent object. So it operates the count of the related child records to this parent object. For example, how many expense item has been associated with my travel request? Okay, what is the minimum amount I have invested or spent across my all expense item? What is the maximum value which I have spent as an expense item? What is the sum of all the amount which I have spent across my trip, right? So all these expenses you are storing it on the related records, right? Under this expense item, right? So let me do one thing. I don't want to. So I say that, okay, 10 pound is across meal, fine. 100 pound is across airfare. 20 pound is across hotel, and rental car is like 5 pound, and anything else others like 30 pound. Okay, so all these expenses I have done on this trip, right? So let me add some more columns here. So where do we go? And I wanted to add some more columns here. For now, I'm just able to see the auto number, but I need to see the expense amount and other details, the trip type. How do I do that? Questions to all, anyone?
I think you need to add the under the expense item
Mhm.
objects, you need to add. I think you need to add the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to add the field called
Amount and the trip.
amount,
Yeah.
amount and trip, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So let me ask the next thing. So you said you have to add it on the expense item object. So okay, you guide me through how do I do it?
If you go to the expense item objects, you go to your
Okay.
setup.
Okay, now I'll stop you here. Any other people, do you have any other thought about it? So Abbas is saying that uh, we'll have to add the columns which we need, but for this I have to go to expense item object. Is this right?
Oh no, sorry,
Mhm.
sorry. I think we need to add it on the page layout.
Absolutely, page layout. So
Yeah,
the
we need to add it on the page layout.
page layout of which
Sorry.
object?
Expense.
Okay.
No, on the travel on the travel approval. Sorry. On the
Okay.
travel approval object.
Anyone who has different view? Jyoti, are you able to connect with this thought?
No,
Okay, that's good.
I'm trying.
Okay. So that's why I said all of you have to, repeat this module or the notes or the things which I did again and again until you get it right. You just have to get this thing right once, and throughout the life you will have to, you'll get it right always. So don't go by completing the number of projects, modules, trailhead, badges, and all. Okay. So so if you recall the page layout thing, right now I'm on which object? So when I say object, it means the type of record. This is our record, and travel approval is the type of record. It means I'm on the travel approval object. So every object has a layout, which is this. Okay. And the layout has details like the main detail about the travel approval. And there is a related section as well. Related section means any child records associated with this travel approval. Now, if you recall the data model, expense item is the child object to travel approval, right? So if I am on travel approval record, in the related, I can see the expense item, which I can see right now. Okay. So I'm here. I wanted to add some more columns here. So you have to find out on which object you are. I'm on travel approval. Fine. So you have to go to travel approval object, and in the page layout, you'll find the related list section. Inside related list section, you have to go to the expense item, area, and within the expense item, you have to configure to add additional columns. Can you visualize this, Abbas, Roshan?
Yeah.
Yes.
So on the page layout
Mhm.
on the travel approval
Mhm.
object,
Mhm.
so there will be a related
Yes.
record,
Related section.
which
Yes. Yeah.
related section, which is
Section will be expensive.
okay.
Which is this? Which is this?
Mhm,
So let
mhm.
me show you, and Jyoti, notice this. So you click on edit objects. So you will directly go there from record, but you can always go through the setup also through object manager, searching the object. But from here, I directly go to my object. Now go to page layout. Why I went to page layout? Because the changes which I want to do belongs to
Is on the page.
related. Yeah. So you have to know which part of this whole screen you are applying the change. So my change belongs to this, either details or related. It means it is the page layout of this object. So I go to my object, click on the page layout, and there is one page layout. I open this page layout. And inside it, I see a lot of, this is my palette area. And if you select fields on the right hand side, you will see all the fields.
What is that area called? Is it the pilot?
Palette, yeah, it's a palette. Yeah,
Palette. Okay.
palette, yeah, palette, yeah, or whatever you say it. But yeah, it's so if I scroll down, right, you see the buttons on here, and this is the details. On the top, you see multiple sections until you see a related list section. So down below, all the sections which you see, right, they are the child record section because they are under related list header. Okay, so it means I'm on travel approval. Details means anything which is above related list, which is this. You see, travel approval number, purpose of trip, trip started, trip ended, out of state, destination. These are controlling this details part of the section, right? Okay.
Yeah, so this is the sub module in which I'm facing the problem. Lastly, which I have told you.
Okay.
I mean, I am not able to complete this one.
Okay.
And one more, I guess.
Okay,
Yeah.
no problem.
Mhm.
Okay, so let me minimize this a bit. I hope you can see it. So I'm on the page layout. If I try to, how do I do it? Let me take a screenshot of it and open it up in here. Add some, this one and this. Open it in Paint. Okay, fine. Now if I minimize it, okay. This is done. Now if I open this, and this part and this whole part, copy it, go to Paint, paste it. Okay, so what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to map how. So first one is admin view. This second screenshot is the end users view. Okay, application view. So how does one change reflects other? So this one, right? Okay, so this detail, the highlighted, the red boxes points to this one. So anything which if you can rearrange the fields as well. So anything which you do it, drag and drop from the fields, it will appear here. Okay, so is this clear, this one?
Yeah.
Inside page layout. Fine. Now if I try to, so which part of the related on the application or end users view points to which part of the admin view on the page layout? I'm going to have the similar screenshot. So if I go to related, now I scroll down, I'm on the same page layout. I'm scroll down and I see related list here. This is one section. This is for activities. Ours is expense item. Okay, so we have to make changes inside this section. This is one. Next one is this. And I'm on the travel approval, right? There are two tabs. Details points to detail part of the page layout, which I just showed you. Related of the record points to the related section of the page layout. Okay, so if I make a change here, right? Amount I need to see on the related side of the travel approval record, expense type also. Who has created it and the if I refresh it, now you can see it, right? So amount, expense type created by. So let me take a screenshot here. Is that clear, all of you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll share this later on. And this is, see, this is very important. Okay, if you don't know what, where, how you are doing this, you don't get it right always. Anyways, now coming back to our object. So now we understood that, okay, fine. When do we need to create a roll-up summary field and things like that. So how I do it, you click on new. I'm going to remove I'm going to remove this field because I had already worked on this. I'm going to create a separate one. Now, okay, fine. Now refresh. Okay. So our thing is to, what is our use case? Our use case is to show the sum of all the expense item. Now, in our record, this is the travel request which I entered, and this is all the expenses which I did. But on the record, right? Let me refresh this. Log out. I just did a page layout change, right? So sometimes it takes time. So I'm logging out and logging in. Okay, here I am. One other thing I need to make a change. I did something on a separate batch, so I just wanted to get rid of it. Otherwise, it may create confusion to you. So our what we will be going to do is that the expense item which we raised against our or my travel trip. Okay, I'm going to operate few operations or few things, which is I will show what is the sum of all the expenses on my travel approval request record. What was the minimum expense which I did? What was the maximum expense which I did? And how many total expenses, number of expenses which I did across my trip. Okay, my specific trip. So I'll go to my record, and as of now on the travel approval record, I don't have the option to see what is the maximum minimum total number of expenses which I did. All the way I can come to know is this: I have to do one click. Now see our expense item. Okay, there are 5 expense item. Now I have to manually add it up, right? 110, 20, 30, 30, 65, 165 total expense, right? And then I can come to know, okay, there are $165 expenses, right? If I have to find what is the minimum expenses I did, maybe it's like, okay, $5 is the minimum expense. What is the maximum expense I did? 100. So these are some, some data which may be needed from reporting point of view. Okay. So see, suppose this is just 5 records on my trip. What about there are 100 related records? Okay, so it becomes very manual job for you to what is the total number of count? What is the minimum value across this amount field on the related child records? And this is common for any other business use case. We are simply using this travel approval data model as an example, but it applies across any other business use case. Okay, wherever you have to find count, min, max across the related child records and show the result on the related parent record, you have to go for the roll-up summary field. Now the question is, can you create roll-up summary field for all type of relationship? No, it is only for master detail. Okay, not for lookup. If there is a normal lookup relationship, no, you cannot create it. Okay, so we are and we identified that roll-up summary field can be created on the parent. So we identified that, okay, out of travel approval and expense item, travel approval is the parent object. So I go to my parent, click on new, and now you see the roll-up summary field here. Okay, select it, click on next, and total expenses. Okay, click on next. Okay, I've already used it. So total expenses, let's say 2. Okay, now so see, here it is saying that, okay, your master object or parent object is travel approval. Now we want to summarize across which object. So in the bottom, you will always see the child records or child object. So we are trying to summarize the record across our expense item. You got this point. So in a master detail relationship, you always create roll-up summary field on the master object, and it will, in the summarized count, it will always show you the child object. Now we wanted to operate across the expense item. If there is another object, right, related to travel approval through master detail, you will see that object here also in this list. But we simply wants to operate against expense item. So we select expense item. Now here as the kind of operation which we want to do. Do we want to count it? No, we want to what? Sum the total expenses. So we'll select sum. And now which field we want to aggregate? So this field is on the summarized object. So which field? Amount, right? So we want to summarize amount. Okay. Now here also you can apply additional filter criteria like on the expense item thing. But yeah, we are not going to do that. But yeah, just remember that you can apply filters across the related records. Like I don't want to include all the related expense item into this calculation. Maybe some of the expense item which is not approved, I don't want to include it, right? So that is one hypothetical use case. But that thing we are not going to do. So just go with the default settings. I'm going to take a screenshot of it and add some meaningful notes to this. So one important note is this one. Okay. So here, select the child object where you want to calculate count, sum, min or max across child object field. Okay, so amount is the child object field. So across which field we wanted to do this. Okay, now these are some filter criteria. It means, do you want to apply this roll-up type like count, min, max or min across all related child records, or just some child records which satisfy certain criteria. Okay, so we are going to apply across all, but if you wanted to filter out, like, yeah, okay, I wanted to apply across only those amounts which is greater than, you know, let's say £5 or something. So it will exclude any amount which is less than £5 and then apply this count, min, max or sum across those records. You got this one, right?
Yes.
Okay, but now I want to apply this across all. And now this is common for any field we create, right? Now, which profile will have access to this field? So go with the default ones. Now, do we need to apply expose these fields on the layout or not? Okay, yes, select the layout. And now click on save and new. because I need to create one other fields as well. Now again, I wanted to create roll-up summary field. So I'm going to create 4 different types of roll-up summary field just to give you an idea. I will be using all the functions or roll-up type. So number of expense items. Okay. Next, I want to apply across expense item. Now I want to do the count, and let me do one filter. Amount greater than £0. Okay, I'll show you the filter result as well. Next, save and new. Roll up summary field, another minimum expense amount. Okay. So I made a number of expenses in my trip. So what is the minimum expense which I did on which item? Okay. So minimum across amount. Next. Same operation, same steps. And I want to, the one which remains is the maximum, right? So maximum expense amount. I want to apply across this, and I want to apply this maximum across amount field because this holds my amount value. Save it. Now, if I go to my record, I should be able to see the fields because I have already added this field to the page layout during the setup. But it's not coming up. Let's go to the page layout and see why it is not coming up. So we go to the page layout, open the page layout and go to the detail section of it. So our fields is already here. Fine, let us do some arrangement. So you can drag and drop, do the reordering, place fields anywhere in this thing, okay? And now go and refresh. Okay, so now you can see that total expenses one. So I don't have to go drill down inside expense item. This is just 5. Just imagine there are thousands and thousands of related child records to your parent record, okay? And you wanted to do this kind of operation, count some min or max. So in that case, if there is a master detail, roll up summary field really comes very handy. Okay, so total expenses, it applies the sum operation and it returns the result 165. Total number of expense item is 5. You go to this, there are 5. I'm creating one more expense item with 0 amount because I wanted to verify our filters as well. Save and new. I'm going to apply $1 across other and save. So there are total, in fact, 7 items, right? One of them is 0. If I go to our details, I can see it says just 6. It does not include the 7th item where the amount is 0 because I have explicitly applied or filtered any expense item where the amount is 0 in this particular roll-up summary field, right? In the count. Okay. Minimum expense item across all the expenses is 0. That's also good. And what is the maximum expense item? It is the 100 which I did, right? Any questions from this? All clear?
Yeah, all clear.
Okay.
Jyoti?
Yeah, Sudhir.
Okay.
Kind of. I mean, I got it. What you have done in this roll-up summary field, and why you have done this.
Yeah.
That too.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what I would recommend, again, you go recap everyone, the data model, the page
Yeah.
layer, because everything is connected. Don't take anything as silos. Okay. Okay. So that's about this. I will share you the screenshots. Let me see if the recording is still on.
Is Sudhir, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, it is still on. Now, I would try to wrap up the session, and in the next one, we'll move on to the next topic, which is understanding formula field. This should be simpler, and we can also include the workflow rules as well in the next one. So now you can imagine this is just 10 minutes. Nobody takes that much 1 hour to explain just one concept visually, that too. Okay. So all of you all good with this one? Shall we connect in the next session? Next
Yeah,
week?
Sudhir.
That's very, very explanatory.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudhir.
No problem. We'll connect again. Yeah, I will share
Will you,
this.
will you
Yeah.
share, will you share the video, please?
Yeah, I'll share this thing.
Okay, all right. And
yeah.
also,
Go ahead,
in
please.
regards to the trail mix, what do you think that we should do? Should I just get some trail? I mean, should I just search for the trail mix itself on Salesforce, and then just focus on that one itself?
Yeah, you mean to say, okay, so go to Salesforce and focus on this thing, right?
And just search for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my trail mix is from the trailhead only, right? It's just that I have handpicked which one I need to include in this one, because like I said, Salesforce trail mix, official trail mix is very divergent in nature. So I don't want many people get, lost in confusion and where they started and where they went. So I don't want to happen that one. Yeah, but yeah, you can go and search this travel approval from the trailhead itself. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other trail mix? Is there any other trail mix or trailhead that you can recommend?
Okay, so see, after we go through this travel approval, battle station is also follows the similar pattern. So I will leave battle station on in your own hands so that you can do things on your own. But any questions, any queries you come across, ask me, because someone is there for you to assist. If you don't get most out of this time, you may not get a similar time in future. Okay, so if you are spending your time, also spend it wisely. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks, Abbas. And drop me all of you drop me your queries, concerns. You can drop in the group or to individually to myself as well, and then we can discuss it through.
I have a quick question before you go. I have a quick question which is around user.
Okay.
But we can catch up with later.
Yeah, no, let me stop the recording, okay? Because and then we can discuss. Hold on. Where is it? Stop.